Hey out there, this is Thursday, July 2nd, 2020, and it is just about 8:29 in the morning here in Northern California. And as usual today I'll get into several things, but as far as the theme, what I get into is what I call psycho-spiritual, maybe social, political, economic issues. I like to talk about the things that affect our day to day lives and to the degree they affect them. And I like to help people differentiate in their own minds the difference between organic, across the board, what I call necessary suffering that we all must experience as human beings, which is a whole laundry list of different issues that can bug people organically, but we all know it affects everyone. We're just human. We're mortal beings. And the worst of those things would be death, I would say. And of course, we've got just a plethora of different diseases. We've got natural disasters of every sort. We've got temperature swings that can be very deleterious to our sense of well-being. It's too cold, it's freezing. People die from it being too cold. They also die from it being too hot. These are miserable aspects of organic suffering that I'm talking about. This stuff, it originated from the original sin. I've got no other explanation. I cannot tell you that an all-powerful, all-loving, all-competent God exists, Almighty Creator God. Okay, and explain these things in any other way. There's just no way. So, I mean, to me, it makes sense somehow. Even if the whole original sin, the fall of man, this occurrence in the Garden of Eden with this eating from the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which God instructed us not to do, or on that day we would surely die. Okay, well, we did die. Our innocence died. And a curse befell the earth. And evil forces got a great deal of power over humanity. And it was heartbreaking for God to have to witness this. But you see, the issue was that God made us these sentient beings in his own image and likeness, distinct from all the other creatures on the face of the earth. And in order for us to be in his image and likeness, he had to give us the power as individuals of free will choice. See, and some people say, well, then that's the problem. I mean, God was stupid to give us free will choice. Well, I mean, all you're going to be is an automaton. Okay, it's going to be all instinct and nothing else, like all the other creatures. I mean, they think, they have an imagination, but it's very limited. Unlike human imagination, which we would all attest to is phenomenal, and God only knows the limits of our imagination. I mean, personally, I can't imagine the bounds of the universe. It's just my mind spins at wondering, where does it end? Does it end? I mean, even as a little child, I remember wondering these kind of things. But you see, it's like an abyss. It's kind of hopeless. So we turn to God and say, wow, there are certain things, there's limits to what I can understand. But what I can understand is quite profound, indeed, to say the least. And what you can understand, all of us can understand about the nature of creation and our origins and how to explain all the negativity in this world. Now, I'm speaking strictly organic negativity, because the stuff I really complain about, that I'm so vociferous about, is the injustice. This is created, it's artificial, it's manufactured, it's conjured up, and it's unnecessary. Unlike organic suffering, this is unnecessary suffering, the stuff I get into. And it has everything to do with economic matters. I mean, you look at the history of slavery, and this is big. To this day, in the 21st century, right now, this is a big issue, a topic. And people want to say it's all about race, and it has nothing to do with race. Okay, I mean, yeah, you could say, yeah, the black people were enslaved. I mean, there were slavers. few and far between. I mean, I've got zero. If you trace back my family tree, both my mother's parents were immigrants from Croatia, Dalmatia to be specific. And they had absolutely nothing to do with it. They came here around the turn of the 19th century, so the 20th century, sometime early in the 20th century, and they settled down in East Los Angeles. And on my dad's side, he tells me his dad is Indian from the Mississauga tribe of Indians. If you look up the town of Mississauga, it's in Toronto. It's south of Toronto, Canada, and it is Port Credit. That's my last name. That was his name. His dad's name. His dad had his name changed from Peliquin, the ancestral tribal name. But a lot of people don't know. A lot of Indians were white. I met my grandpa, and he did look, like some Indian. He had big nose, got a little Jimmy Durante nose thing going on. I don't know why my dad didn't get it. He got his mom's nose, I guess. His mom was a very pretty lady. My dad's mom was an immigrant from Ireland. O'Driscoll was her maiden name. And so they hooked up, and, so that's the story I get. So I'm not technically an American Indian. It's a Canadian Indian. It's North American, but, I got that. I'd have absolutely zero culpability with slavery, and I never would. I don't want to be a master. I don't want to be a boss. I don't want to be an employer. I mean, I employ people. Everybody employs people. If you go to the grocery store, it's because you're patronizing that establishment, that those people are working there. So you are, in essence, the reason that they're at work. Just like you go pump gas. I mean, you're employing the truck driver that brings the gas. You're employing the clerks. Okay, and anything else, any other businesses that you patronize, you are employing those people. So we're all employers. We're all bosses. We're all masters. And boss is just a cutesy term. If you look up the etymology of the terms, you'll see that it's master is what boss means. So people think it's all, just you, hey, I'm my boss, this, that, cutesy term, a euphemism, but they don't know that they're saying my master. You're saying your master. So where does that come from? We had slaves and masters, right? No, they weren't just servants, right? It was beyond that. These people were like indentured servants. So they were not free to go. They were told, hey, you're indebted to us or whatever the case may be. But remember, they did get room and board because the masters knew they had to take care of their slaves. Today, in the 21st century, we got all this multitude of homeless people across America. America is supposed to be leading the way of the free world, right? America, everybody's looking to America to set the proper example. And we've let the ball drop hard, okay, really hard, and it's shameful. And the only reason I voted for Trump was because he said he was ashamed of homelessness. I said, that's my man. If he means that I'm going to take him at his word, give him the benefit of the doubt. I know I had no regard for the man before this. I don't care about multi-billionaires. I don't care about real estate. Listen, I have a very hard time with real estate investors, especially when they go for the low-hanging fruit. I'm talking about those fixer-uppers, those starter homes that are coveted by some struggling young couple. And if Trump's been involved in that and that stuff that Robert Kiyosaki, alias Rich Dad, and his books, you got your Carlton Sheets, you got a plethora of different guys out there that are telling you, this is where it's at, man. You're going to make your fortune in real estate. And you got to get these fixer-uppers. These are the speculators. These are the flippers, right? And then we vaunt them and exalt them. Oh, yes, you're so smart and great. I got to hear Judge Judy telling these two young, dumb punk brothers that probably never had a laborious job in their whole lives. Oh, you're so smart to get into this business, wet behind the ears kid brothers, that got into this investment business. And they're looking for. I mean, I had my California real estate license, a 4-year license. I had to get more studies for that. And you find out a lot of stuff, and I got into it because I wanted to develop truly affordable low-income housing. So we had a situation in America just going back to the early 60s. I was an Make America Great kind of guy. I got my license in 2006, and then I was appalled at how much resistance, how controversial it is, and how many evil people, Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals, socialists and capitalists, they're all just terms that are bandied about that people label themselves with or they label others with. But at the end of the day, they're all colluding together. Do you understand? This goes back to the bailout of '08. To give you an example, that's a template, okay, an exemplar for what I'm trying to tell you here, okay, because they bailed out those criminal banksters who deliberately caused this crash by dumping all that money on the housing market. That's what led up to it. Slick Willie gave them the green light for that. And Obama was very instrumental. And who was Obama's right-hand man? Joe Biden. You will not find me voting for Joe Biden. There's no way on earth I'll vote for a man that went along with that silently. Okay? I don't know. I have never looked at everybody's vote on that 2008 bailout. It wasn't everybody, but it was a critical mass. It was the majority of senators and Congress and Obama and Bush. Okay, it was right at that transitional period, remember, between Bush leaving office and Obama coming in. They got that bailout pushed through. And what that did was that debased your housing dollars. So your housing dollars, they said, yes, it's legitimate. We bailed them out. We borrowed a bunch of money. So what they did was they diluted your money. It's just like, let's say you got a few gold coins stashed. So it's like a thief, a robber, the Federal Reserve comes in your house at night and says, yoink. They just clip your coin. They take a quarter, of it, and then they just add, 10. They won't notice. They're too stupid and confused and ignorant about these issues. They don't understand. So though, you look at it and you go, wait a minute, somebody's tampered. It's worth less. I just went to try to trade it in, and they tell me it's only 75% purer now. But that's one example of what I'm talking about. That's currency debasement is currency dilution. To keep it in very simple terms for you to understand, it means the deworthment, which isn't even a word yet. It should be, though, to help people understand currency debasement. I want to help people understand, be very clear what I'm talking about here. I know what I'm talking about, okay? And it's not capitalism, okay? Because one thing you don't do in capitalism is bail out criminals. You let them fall flat on their faces and bust out their metaphorical teeth like they deserved. They thought they were going to get away with this, and we said, no, you're not. We're not bailing you out. If we had congressmen and senators and in the executive branch, president, vice president, that were following constitutional law and even just capitalism, okay, they would have said, no, that would be a betrayal to the American people. Why would any American man, woman, or child want their housing dollars to be worth less? But they train us to accept this. They tell us, hey, the value of your house went up. And in real estate terms, they call that an unearned increment. So you learn these terms in real estate school. And you say, well, that sounds suspiciously like undeserved. I mean, yeah, it was baseless. They did no improvements on the property, nothing. It went up, no raising at all. It just, hey, just celebrate. It's a good thing. The worth of your house went up. And this wealth imbalance, you see how this thing soars? And people can't afford to be homeowners anymore. The average person on a minimum wage job or slightly above it. I mean, that ship sailed a long time ago. I've been watching this thing unfold for over half a century. Do you understand? At the assassination of JFK, we had a money printing coup. That's it. That was the precarious time for these money printers. Okay, they knew that if they were going to get busted and not get away with this is outlandish. I mean, what they did, it is so bizarre that they got away with this. I mean, you think about the FBI, we got all these, upper echelon law enforcement agencies, and they got away with this kind of crap. I can't believe it. I mean, they assassinate the head of the state of the most powerful nation on earth, and they get away with it. I mean, even just a hint of impropriety, okay, in regard to the assassination of JFK, the Federal Reserve should not have existed day one after. You understand? That would have been the time that the court said, this is outlandish. What motivation? I mean, it's brazen. It's glaringly obvious why they would do that. JFK was already circulating a new dollar. The American people were taken to it. They liked the idea of sound economic policies and a sound dollar where it went up in worth like it's supposed to.